everyone, so that was a little clip of my gorgeous daughter who is currently 7 weeks old, and she's just so precious. We are so in love with her. She's a fantastic baby. And yeah, in this video I just kind of want to share a bit of an update about what's been going on with us, what to expect from this channel going forwards, answer a bunch of questions you guys asked over on Instagram. I've already tried to film this video once and it was super duper long, so I'm going to try and keep this as short as I can whilst trying to give you as much detail as I know you will want. So the most asked question you asked me was, how are you? Which was the best thing ever. You guys are really sweet to worry about me and just wonder how things have gone with the transition from 1 to 2, with my diabetes, just like whether I'm sleeping, how my hormones are doing, and it was just, you are just the sweetest bunch. So I'm going to try and answer some of those. Physically, I'm doing really well. It was a slightly longer healing process than with my son, I think simply because it was the second one, but my delivery was also with forceps and I had an episiotomy, so it's a slightly more traumatic birth to heal from, slightly. So I think it was about the 5th week where I started to feel a bit more physically normal and capable. Mentally, I've actually been doing really well. I kind of get like the blues for about 30 seconds to about 5 minutes every evening at about 5:30. That's sort of, I think, linked to the fact it's also really dark outside. It's the time of day when my son's sort of like a little bit more agitated, and so it's just the hardest time of the day, and I just get this really deep blue feeling, and then I just try and shake it off by eating something, lighting the fire, like just doing something, because I pretty much know it's going to happen every single day, and then I can kind of like plan for it and make sure I just like make myself a cup of tea, for example. My diabetes has been kind of as I expected. It's always so much harder after the birth for me than during pregnancy. During pregnancy I can kind of regulate it a lot more easily, and then after I have a baby it just is like all over the place until the breastfeeding really settles down. And so as the breastfeeding still hasn't settled down because she's only 7 weeks, I'm still kind of waiting for that beautiful pattern. It's okay, but I'm still having quite a lot of lows and highs, but nothing too scary, which is good. As for my daughter, if you haven't read my whole labour story, it's up over on my blog at alyssaevelyn.com, so go and read that there. It's really long and very detailed, so I don't want to repeat that here. It was quite a medical labour process. I was induced because of my diabetes, and so things happened at a kind of funny pace, and there were certain things that were just out of my control, and I left it really into the hands of the consultant. So she was born with a broken collarbone because she was pulled out with forceps. She also had a really severe tongue tie, nothing to do with how she was born, she just had a severe tongue tie, much like my son did, only we found out a lot sooner than we did with my son. And then also she became jaundiced about 4 days after she was born, so we ended up back in the hospital and we were there for a couple of nights under the like blue lights. It worked and we got home. Anyway, we came back to the hospital a couple of times for her collarbone, which is thankfully not completely healed, but it's got like a callus there to help it heal. She's in no pain anymore, which is great. The tongue tie got fixed 2 weeks after she was born. That was a very uncomfortable 2 weeks because she wasn't able to get all of the milk, so my breasts were in a lot of pain with engorgement. And she was actually really fine. She's a really sleepy baby because of the jaundice, and so actually kind of worked in my benefit really, and in hers. But she was also putting on weight fine, so I think I just had an oversupply. So feeding wise, she's actually been great since the start. She latched on brilliantly. I think it really helped that I had breastfed my son for so long and I just knew what to expect, how it should feel, and that really helped. So it was faster process for me this time anyway, and I was less worried about how much she was taking and things like that. I think with anybody that starts breastfeeding, I think it's rare for it to be really easy. I think it's so challenging, at least the first 6 weeks. I think probably the first 12 weeks really, until you regulate, because like I'm still waking up in loads of milk, I still get pain in my breasts, and they just haven't regulated, and she hasn't regulated. Like some days she won't have very much and other days she'll have loads, and then so like one day she's really irritated because there's not enough there, and the next day I'm really irritated because there's loads there. Sleeping wise, she has been incredible since the very start. Like I said, the jaundice made her sleepy, so I was waking her up for most feeds and having to properly undress her, get her kind of irritated to actually wake up because she was so sleepy. So I was waking her up every 4 hours, then every 3 hours when we found out she was jaundiced, because it's better to feed them more often when you find out they've got jaundice, to try and help clear the jaundice from their system, or the bilirubin. She's just been incredible, especially during the night. She only wakes up kind of once during the nighttime hours, which basically how we kind of determine it is if she sleeps between 10 and 5 straight, that is a full night's sleep, and she's done that 4 times already, and she usually only will go down at like 8:39ish, wake up at 2, go back down fairly quickly most nights as well, and then wake up again at like 7, 8. She's really, really amazing. We've been super duper blessed with sleep. Someone wanted to know as well what her sugar levels were like after she was born, and they were absolutely fine. It can be quite common for them to be quite low, and that to like mean that the baby has to stay in for just checking to check that they come up, but actually it was totally fine, both checks, and then she was signed off actually before I was signed off out of the hospital. One of the things I was really worried about, and lots of people have asked about, is the transition from 1 to 2, how my son's taken to her and things like that. He's 3.5 and he just loves her so much. We talked a lot about the fact that there was a baby in my tummy, so when we kind of got towards the end of the pregnancy, he was like, is she coming out yet? And we would use her name around him. So he was just really excited to finally meet her, because she had been in there for so long. And he is really, really good with her. He can sometimes be a bit too rough, like he doesn't know how strong he is or how delicate she is, and that's really kind of the only problem we've had so far. He definitely has had a few days where he's been acting up a bit more, but that's probably just on days he hasn't had as much attention as he would have had previously. I think for me that's the hardest part, is not being able to give him enough attention. And like on Friday he was really poorly, and it was just kind of sucked for me that I couldn't just sit with him the whole time, and that I had to kind of leave him to himself. And that's really good for him actually, and as part of his growing and developing, but it's a bit heart-wrenching as a mum. Otherwise, the big thing I was really worried about was how we would get to preschool, whether I'd have a really fussy baby who was halfway through a feed, whether like just how it would work, and whether we'd always make it to school on time. But we actually have always made it to school on time, and I'm not really sure why I really worried about that. I kept googling like morning routines for a 3-year-old and a newborn, and just trying to work out how I'd fit everything in. I think I'm just quite relaxed about it. Sometimes we're there a little bit early, sometimes we're a bit late, and they're very flexible on that, which is good. But it's actually been really nice. I think we've had mostly nice weather days, which really, really helps as well. So someone wanted to know whether we've been using cloth nappies and what our intentions for that are, and the answer to that is not right now, but we absolutely will in the future, simply because I'm not up to speed with the washing yet. So to add more washing to that would be just crazy and just too much for me to handle. So we've been using these Bamboo Nature Eco biodegradable ones. They are a better option than Pampers. They're much better for her bottom. I actually really think they perform superbly well in comparison. So we'll still get a good couple of years out of the cloth nappies. They're already ready and waiting to go in here for when I feel like today is the day. The other practical thing that's stopping me from using them is that it's winter, and because we're going through so many nappies, it's just, yeah, it's a lot of washing to do when it's really cold, and they won't dry like that outside. So we'll get there. The last question is, what is her name? Will you ever share your children's names? And the answer is no. We just like to keep that private to ourselves, because they're just really special things, and they're their names to share if and when they want to. So I thought that was the last question, but I just checked, and the last question is about postpartum hair loss and what my experience of that is. I haven't actually had any postpartum hair loss. If anything, actually I have more hair in the kind of breastfeeding phase. Probably once the breastfeeding ends, I probably do lose it and then regain it a little bit. But yes, if anything, my hair is bigger and shinier. And I don't know as well, I do take a multivitamin and omega-3 supplement, and that probably has something to do with it as well. So hopefully that covered everything you wanted me to cover. If it didn't, check on alyssaevelyn.com for my labour story. Check my Instagram /thealyssaevelyn. Just if you want to know what's been going on, I post there quite a lot. I've even got like a little stories highlights with beautiful, cute little pictures and videos of my daughter, so you can check that out there. And if you have any other questions, just leave them down below. I'm quite good at getting back to comments, so I will get back to you as soon as I can. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching this and for sending me so much love, and I'm just really grateful for you guys. So this is my girl. She's just had some milk, so she's looking a bit confused because it's so sunny outside and we haven't had so much sunshine for a while, have we? Oh, she's starting to smile, and that's nice. And you got a little butterfly in her bottom. It's super cute. Anyway, I just wanted to say what you guys should be expecting from this channel going forwards and when I should be back to regular programming, and the answer is I'm not totally sure. I don't want to push myself too fast, but when I feel like I'm ready and capable, then I will. It'll probably be when she kind of settles into a bit more of a routine that I can trust, and when I've got the time. It takes so long to edit a video. Shooting it takes 15 minutes, but editing takes a good several hours, and having a good solid chunk of time like that is super rare. But I do want to get back to making more curly girl videos and a lot more faith journaling videos, because you've asked for that so many times and I love to do both those kind of videos. Yeah, anyway, just thought I'd throw that in there in case you wanted to know when I'd be back to videos. So if you have any requests, please make sure to leave those down below as well, because I always write them down and I usually get round to it like a year later, but I will do it. Can you say bye? Bye.